Name is Javed Anwar, and I am the chair of the Committee on Innovation, Data, and Educational Analytics. It's about 9:10 or a little bit after. And I am the chair on the committee. It is 9:15 on the night, what time is it?
9:12.
9:12 a.m. I would like to call the April 23rd, 2025 Committee on Innovation, Data, and Educational Analytics. Meeting to order. Meeting to order. This meeting is being held via live broadcast. Before I begin, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome and joining us via video conference and ask that you observe the following etiquette. Please state your name before you speak. Make your phone while not, mute your phone while not speaking and keep background noise to minimum. Member board, I'll call your name. Stacy Hawks,
Present.
Richard Cameron,
Here.
Fred Frias,
Present.
Juan Naveras,
Present.
Welcome Wilson,
Present.
Daniel Wong. Here. Luke Short, student representative,
Yes.
I guess he's not here.
He'll be back. He had stuff.
You be like, so.
Okay. Agenda item 2 is considered and possible action to approve the minutes of from January 22nd, 2025 committee meeting. Members, do I have a motion and a yes?
Don't move. Second.
I got a second, all in say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion item number 2 passes. Agenda item number 3 is public testimony on agenda items relating to the Committee on Innovation, Data and Educational Analytics. We do not have anybody registered to testify, so we will move on to the next item. Agenda item 4 is consideration of possible action to approve the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes items that can be approved without comment and discussion. This allows us to save time for other items that need more of our attention. The consent items are highlighted in gray on the agenda. We are going to vote on the consent items, 2 votes, non-rule item and rule item. Members following on the non-rule consent calendar for consideration. 5B, consideration of possible action to appoint to the Standing Advisory Committee for Public Junior College. Does anybody want to remove the consent calendar? Does anybody want to remove item from the consent calendar? Are there any other items that anybody would like to add to the consent calendar? Remember, there's a motion and to approve the consent calendar. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Remember, next, we will vote on the rule of consent item. These rules are either technical, conforming, or implement non-controversial policies around which there is a consent. The following are on the rule consent calendar for consideration. 5D. New board rules, chapter 4, Y, section 4.380-4.385 concerning the provision regarding scholarship to a relative of a board member of the institution of higher education or university system. Don't have a 5D3.
5D3.
Yeah, D2 is not there. Just go
No.
to D3.
Not on the consent calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. 5D3, repeal of board rules, chapter 21, to 21, comma, O, section 21.46B dash 21.474 concerning provisional regarding scholarship to relatives board member of the institution of higher education and university system. 5D for the recommendation of relating to 4-year review of board rules, chapter 22, comma A concerning general provision. 5D6, recommendation of relating to the 4-year review of board rules, chapter 22B concerning the tuition equalization grant program. 5D 5D8, the recommendation relating to the 4-year review of board rules, chapter 22, L, concerning the towards excellence, access and success grant program. 5D9, amendment to the board rules, chapter 21, L, section 22.226, 22.231, 22.233, comma, 22.234, comma, 22.236, and 22.241. And new section 22.238 concerning towards the excellent access and success Texas grant program. 5D10, recommendation relating to the 4-year review of board rules, section 22M concerning the Texas Educational Opportunity Grant Program. 5D11, amendment to the board rules, chapter 22M, section 22.254, 22.262, 22.264, and 22.265 concerning the Texas Education Opportunity Grant Program. Members, does anybody want to remove any rules from the consent calendar, or does anybody want to add any rules to the consent calendar? Member, there's a motion and I need a motion and a,
Motion. Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes. Agenda 5A is consideration of possible action to approve the data report required by Texas Education Code Section 51.4003 and Section 51.434 related to non-transferable credit and transfer courses. Dr. Melissa Humphreys, Assistant Commissioner to the Data Management Research, will provide the presentation, will be available to answer any question. Dr. Humphreys.
Good morning, members of the committee. I'm Melissa Humphreys, the Assistant Commissioner for the Data Management and Research Division. This morning, I'll provide a brief overview of the Senate Bill 25 report on non-transferable credit and courses taken at public two-year colleges. This report fulfills legislative requirements outlined in Texas Education Code Section 51.4033 and 51.434, which direct the coordinating board to submit 2 transfer-related data reports to the legislature each year. These requirements were established through Senate Bill 25 in the 86 legislature as part of the broader effort to improve transfer, academic progress, and timely graduation for Texas students. The report provides insight into 2 key areas. First, a detailed analysis of lower division academic courses that are either not granted credit or not applied toward a student's major after they transfer to a public university. Second, it analyzes the courses students complete at public two-year colleges prior to transferring or earning an associate's degree. To support the analysis, we use institutional data submitted through the CPM-OT or transfer report by public universities. This data allows us to identify at the course level which classes are denied credit the most to transfer students, along with reasons why, such as degree applicability, minimum grade requirements, or course repetition. The report also explores how often students encounter credit denial. Understanding these patterns is critical to helping students complete their degrees more efficiently and affordably. Tomorrow morning, my colleagues David Troutman, Elizabeth Mayer, and I will share more detailed findings from this report as part of the broader discussion of transfer and the major policy discussion. At this time, we recommend approval of the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, are there any questions? If not, I'd like to have a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Agenda item 5A is passed. Agenda item 5B was approved on the consent calendar. Agenda item 5C is consideration of possible action to approve the higher demand fee list of fiscal year 2026 that 2027 of awards for the purpose of community college finance program. Mr. Andy McLaren, Assistant Commissioner for Funding, will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I'm Andy McLaurin, the Assistant Commissioner of Funding. Education Code Section 130A.101 specifies that the coordinating board shall provide additional funding for students earning a credential in a high-demand occupation as defined by coordinating board rule. Our rules adopted in the Texas Administrative Code include both the statewide high-demand list and regional high-demand lists. The statewide list contains all academic fields linked to the 10 occupation groups projected to have the most employment growth in Texas over the next 10 years. The regional lists contain all academic fields linked to the 5 occupation groups projected to have the most employment growth in that region over the next 10 years and that are not already present on the statewide list. The regional analysis and colleges' regional assignments use the Texas Comptroller's economic regions. Note that although the statewide occupations are limited to 10 and regional occupations are limited to 5, the number of instructional programs associated with those occupations is unlimited. In your materials, you will see the statewide high demand field list followed by each individual regional list. We recommend approval of these lists. Any questions on these materials?
Yeah, what criteria was used to determine the list?
The list is based on the 10 occupation groups projected to have the most employment growth over the next 10 years in Texas. The source for that information is Bureau of Labor Statistics data and TWC data.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? If not, all in favor say aye. And I need a second. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second. Okay, I got a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against and I will remember this motion 5C is approved by the board. 5D was approved on the consent. 5D2 is consideration of possible action to adopt proposed repeal of board rule chapter 13, subchapter P, section 13, 13.470, 13.477 concerning the community college finance program for fiscal year 2024. Mr. Andy McLaren will present the item and be available to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Agenda item 4D2 is the repeal of obsolete rules governing the community college finance system for fiscal year 2024. These rules are now obsolete and have been replaced with rules in subchapter S. We recommend approving the repeal of these rules. Any questions?
Any question? If not, I need a motion in second page.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone else? Agenda item 5D2 is approved by the board. Agenda item 5D2 and 5D4 were approved on the consent calendar. Agenda item 5D5 is consideration of possible action to adopt proposed amendment to the board rule, chapter 22, subchapter A, section 22.1, 22.2, 22.24, 20, and 22.29 -22.11 and new section 22.7 and 22.8 concerning the general provision Members, you have supplement material for this printed on golden paper. Dr. Charles Quintero, Dr. Charles Quintero, Assistant Commissioner for Student Financial Aid Program, will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'm pleased to present the proposed rules for Chapter 22, Subchapter A, which contains the general provisions for our rules relating to grant, scholarship, work study, and loan programs. The proposed changes are mainly non-substantive and part of the Student Financial Aid Program Division's year-long effort to improve the overall consistency and readability of its rules, while also ensuring they are fully aligned with practice. We also work closely with the Office of General Counsel and Internal Audit and Compliance to revise Rule 22.9, which contains many important provisions for institutions to maintain compliance and mitigate negative consequences when unauthorized actions take place. Changes to 22.9 primarily relate to procedures in the case of unauthorized disbursements. Things like clarifying timelines for institutions to notify the coordinating board, specifying how the commissioner may respond to these cases, and delineating how institutions can remedy. We have also proposed a change at adoption to correctly indicate that it is the board, the commissioner, and the agency's internal auditor who may select an institution for compliance monitoring. We did receive one public comment from South Texas College, which rightly pointed out that the revised definitions we published through the Texas Register failed to signify that student aid index, not expected family contribution, reflects the federal government's current terminology and should be the preferred term in our rules and materials going forward. Although we feel that it is important to maintain a definition in Rule for expected family contribution, because it appears so frequently in our statutes, we have proposed a change in adoption to amend the rule by effectively swapping the definitions as they were published in the register, clearly signaling student aid index as the preferred term. Staff recommend approval of these amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, please.
So when you make those recommendations, when they come in from the public comment, do you get back with them right away, or what is the timeline? How does that?
The response to them is part of this entire presentation to you all and the posting process. So like when we put out the adoption papers, it'll acknowledge this comment and it'll acknowledge the changes that we made.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion in a second, please. Motion. Okay. So do I have a motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Agenda item 5D5 is approved by the board member. 5D6 was approved on the consent calendar. Agenda item 5D7 is consideration of possible action to adopt proposed amendment to Board Rule Chapter 22, Subchapter B, Section 22.22, 22.3, consideration the tuition equalization grant code. Members, we have supplement material printed on the golden paper. Golden rod paper. Dr. Charles Quintero will present this item and will be available for any question. Doc.
Thank you. I'm pleased to present the proposed rules for Chapter 22, Subchapter B, considering tuition equalization grant program. Proposed rule changes are again primarily non-substantive, part of Student Financial Aid Program's effort to improve the overall consistency and readability of its rules. This includes, for example, ensuring that citations to other rules and statutes are consistent and that terms that have a formal definition and rule are used correctly within the rule text. One substantive change proposed in these rules is to remove restrictions on participation in the program on religious or theological seminaries and students who are enrolled in degree plans intended to lead to religious ministry. This was prompted by legal determinations stemming from recent federal court decisions. Staff recommend approval of these amendments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is there any questions, please? If no, I need a second and a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
questions? Anybody oppose it? If not, motion, agenda item 5D7 is approved by the board member. Agenda item 5D5 through 5D, no, 5D8 through 5D11 was approved on the consent calendar. Agenda item 5 is adjournment. Do I have a motion and a second, please? Second, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned for the Committee on Innovation, Data and Education. Thank you, guys.
We'll now take a short break to allow the staff for the next committee meeting, academic and workforce success. Thank you.